Man.
Anyway, let's reflect on what was a very entertaining game. Certainly the mayhem at the end of the game between Liverpool and Manchester City. Neil Warnock, before we hear from Graham Scott, the former Premier League referee, Neil Warnock called Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoist on breakfast this morning. He heard former Premier League ref Chris Foy discussing the disallowed third goal and Szoboszlai red card, and this was Neil's take on it.
I remember Bill Shankly saying, they know the laws, but they don't know the game. Yeah. And nothing has changed in all them years. I listened to Chris, and Chris is a lovely bloke, but he's one of them. They know the rules, they know it inside out, they know what should be happening, they know this, but they haven't got any idea about common sense. Are you enjoying Premiership now? I'm not. No. I mean, I thought last night's game was fantastic, and I think if that goal had been given in the end, it would have ended a great game. The Liverpool have got their player for the next game, but you don't get too many games like that now. No. Everything's talking about VAR, and I mean, we all wanted it, but it's killing. I mean, imagine now as a manager.
In a world, that's Neil Warnock this morning. In a world before VAR, the referee would have used the phrase 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
He would, absolutely.
We don't live in a world before VAR, unfortunately.
We don't.
And sadly, in law, I hate saying that, he got it right. It doesn't mean he's comfortable with it. Certainly not in the eyes of one of his former colleagues, Graham Scott. Who
didn't help with the Norman Collier announcement afterwards.
Yeah, after... pies at the back of the
it was one of those
parking in the it was a bit Norman Collier, wasn't it? That's the trouble.
Yep.
Anyway, Graham Scott joins us now. Hello Graham.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, you make the point in your column today, you would have hated giving that. I mean, it's just wouldn't it be great if someone suddenly went falling down, suddenly went rogue, and while he's being asked to look at the screen, we know he can't do this, just suddenly say, hang on, guys, let's all take a step back. Let's remember why we got involved in football in the first place. Have we all gone collectively mad? We all know what we've just seen. But he can't do that, can he?
No, he can't. And I felt I was sorry for Craig yesterday. I obviously know the bloke very well, and he would have hated every second of that. And a large part of it, talk about the Norman Collier bit, those announcements are an absolute nightmare. I mean, I got out just at the right time, I think. I'd have hated doing those. And we practiced them, but that's exactly the kind of situation. You try and explain that to a kind of alien visitor or someone who's not been watching the game. It just doesn't make any sense. And I felt every sympathy for him. But I don't think he had any choice. I think he had to do what he did, as did the VAR.
If you're refereeing that game without VAR, what are you doing, Graham?
I was talking to the ref this morning, actually, and we said if it was on the kind of local park or non-league football where, there's less at stake, I guess, you just give the goal. You just say, like, that's just insane. I was going to give the goal. I remember one of my early games, a player handled the ball on the goal line. I hadn't crossed the line. I was standing on the goal line because it was very old school in those days. And I just gave the goal. And everyone said, yeah, fair enough, ref. We don't want him sent off. We'd rather, so, it's not what you're supposed to. You can't do that in the Premier League, can you?
One of the, sorry. I was going to say, one of the ideas in your column, I'm not in favour of really bringing in a lot of changes and everything, but your one suggestion actually from other sports really makes sense, that as you can in the NFL, decline the penalty. The team that are awarded the penalty can decline it. And in that case, I think City would have declined it. They would have had the third goal and Liverpool would have had Szoboszlai. And I think that's a reasonable thing to bring in.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I've thought it for quite a long time. I mean, also in this case, the goal is inevitable if there's no foul in the first place by Szoboszlai. So why not have a penalty goal like we have in rugby and indeed other sports? We just give the goal, and then the player probably doesn't commit the foul in the first place. But football has a bit of a superiority complex. Doesn't always learn from other sports, does it? Yeah. And it's maybe should think a bit more laterally.
The only problem with the penalty goal I could see is that, like anything you bring, that's why I say I'm not in favour of bringing in too many, because they'll find a way of there'll be an argument over that. Should it have been a penalty goal? Might he have cleared it? Do you know what I mean? I think the more stuff you have, the more of a problem it is.
In principle, I absolutely agree with you. And I think we've overwritten the laws now to cover every eventuality in some cases, and then yet we still have enormous subjectivity in others. So the handball regulation goes on for feels like it goes on for pages. There's about 30 considerations about what is and isn't handball, and the other things, like a foul, it's just like well, it's in the opinion of the referee whether it's careless or reckless. Well, define those, So the whole thing has got into a mess.
Dog shows themselves are very subjective, aren't they? I mean, the one with Gay on Salah, it's a difficult one. I've looked at it quite a few times. You can argue it either way.
I think that, when I first watched it, I know that honestly,
I thought he was
very
bursting
upset.
into the area.
And I thought there was a covering defender. You never know for sure, but that would have felt very tight to have given him a red. I don't know what you thought, Graham.
Yeah, so what people miss in that is on the field, they're extremely difficult. It's obviously a foul, but you've got a few factors. First of all, is it a foul? Well, yes. But then you've got where is it? So you've got making this judgment around whether it's inside or outside the area. In the split second it takes you to judge, it is just outside. You look, your eyes flick left and say, where are the other players? That defender's moved another 5 yards. So you're now taking a pitch thinking, I'm not so sure. He might just be back. He's probably just about a yellow. You go yellow. And then the VAR layers on top of that another subjective judgment of, well, the referee's call's really important here, so I better go with that. And this is really obviously not. And we end up with a yellow card when I think probably a red would have been better. But
really? So you would have given Gay a red, do you think?
I think if you look at the moment of that foul, and the impact of it, I don't think the other defenders are getting across before Salah gets a shot off against the goalkeeper and no one else in between. So that's an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and Salah's good enough to take it. Or certainly at least work the goalkeeper. But it's not absolute stick-on. And if you're VAR, you go, well, it's not clear and obvious, so you keep out.
Yeah, they do sometimes. They keep out sometimes, and they don't keep out other times. And that's one of the frustrations, I think,
That's because they're human beings.
Exactly. But then why do we need another layer of human error? Let's just stick to what we had.
We could have another layer of human being and have another person.
The two other
VAR.
The two other things were, if that had been at 1-1, I think that would have been very controversial, wouldn't it? And then probably everyone would have gone, that was right.
So as long as doesn't get sent off, if that takes place in the 15th minute and he doesn't get sent off, the goal's given. First of all, we have a controversy around that. But then he stays on the field to score the free kick that he did, which then means Liverpool win the game that would have otherwise have lost. The whole thing just plays out differently. We can't, as referees, you can't say, well, it's the last minute, I'll make a completely different judgment. There are times when the time of the game just nudges you one way or the other, but not on something as significant and clear-cut as this.
Anyway, next week in the FA Cup, that's a goal.
It is. It is a goal next week in the FA. And this is that thing. It's like having a lovely cold shower, isn't it? When we reach the FA Cup and we don't have VAR there, it just feels like a blessed release. Because, as we said, in law, you can't argue with the decision they came to. But in terms of what we witnessed in the game and our kind of incredibly dramatic moment was just sort of chalked off. You feel like you're losing something from the sport we all love.
Yeah, and I've been on your show a few times, Evan. I said in the stadium, it's a night. No one wants that. No one wants that. I just want the game to finish in the way that I did Man City in the League Cup semi-final a few years ago, and they scored on the break to go 2 goals ahead in the semi-final second leg, and there was a few seconds left on the clock. I just blew the final whistle. There was no way the Bristol City were coming back. No one was bothered. The game was over, and everyone accepted it. But yeah, it's the FA Cup is great until there's a potential giant killing is taken away by a decision that's clearly wrong, and then we want VAR in the FA Cup because the giant killing's been deprived of us. So we wanted this non-league team to beat the Premier League team, and they would have done if only VAR was here to save it. So as ever, we go around in a circle.
You're right. That's almost certainly going to happen next weekend. So good stuff, Graham. Really interesting stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Graham Scott, you can read his column in today's Telegraph.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.